Welcome back YouTube, Nick here with another awesome how-to video. Today what we're doing is reversing the cutting edge on our box blade. This is a Frontier implement that is 6 foot wide, but it should be the same for any bolt-on style blade. It was surprisingly difficult to get the old hardware out without cutting it because we wanted to reuse it, but we got it done by welding the bolts in. Besides that, the process was relatively simple, so sit down and enjoy and we'll walk you through it. To kick things off, the first thing you're going to want to do is clean your box blade. Grab a pressure washer, blow out the blades. There's a surprising amount of dirt in between, but you really need to clean this lower channel. Now that everything is clean, I recommend getting some penetrating oil and spraying all the hardware. I attempted to break one free before spraying it just to see what happened, but then I thoroughly soaked everything and let it sit for 5-10 minutes before coming back and giving it another go. When attempting to remove our cutting edge, we ended up having a large number of the bolts spin inside of the blade.
Spinning?
It turns out channel locks are not enough holding power to keep these in place. We ended up welding the bolt heads in place to get them to stay, but before we do that, we're going to try out the rest of them.
Done it from afar. There. Got one.
Alright, the front's got 2 left.
Well, that's sweet.
Alright, now that I'm done removing the easy bolts, it's on to the hard ones. Step 1 is to pull out the grinder and prep the surface. All I did here was chip off the paint enough to throw a little bit of a tack weld on. After that small little bead of weld, let it cool for a few seconds and then gave it a blip with the impact to see if it was enough. It turns out we actually had to weld these quite a bit. So you will see us weld them progressively more, once, twice, and then 3 times sometimes, just enough to get it to hold. It's actually pretty easy to remove these bolts when they're welded in. We just flipped it over and gave it a good whack, which we'll show you at the end, and popped them right out. All that's left to remove them is to repeat welding the heads on the remaining bolts and then pop the blades off.
Yeah, turn it over this way a bit. We thought they done it a bunch. Yep. I went super hard on that. Yeah, it's broke right now.
Unplug the negative. This is about to pop out. Oh, the bolts are still in it, duh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The weight stacks on too?
Yeah.
Good, more
Proper.
weight. Talk shit, get well.
Alright, now we are going to flip the cutting edges over and reinstall them. We took the bolts over to the bench grinder and cleaned them up on a wire wheel to make the bolts as nice as possible before we put them back in there for another 5 years. If you haven't already, make sure you brush off any remaining dirt that is on the box blade before installing. The angle iron that the blade rests on may be slightly bent. I was unable to get ours straight by cold forging, and we weren't trying to heat it up, so we just left it as it was. To put the blade on, you're going to use a friend to hold it in place and then grab a bolt and nut for each side and thread them through. If the edge on yours is as bad as ours, it may need a little bit of love to bend back in place. Once every bolt was through and started, we ended up pressing on the head of the bolt while trying to impact them to get them to lock in place and thread down. As you can imagine, this worked for some of them but not all, so we had to go back to welding the bolts in place to get these to thread on. Alright, and that's all there is to flipping the cutting edge on a box blade. You pull out 6 bolts and you reinstall them with it upside down, and that's all there is to it. Hopefully it's that simple. For us it was a slight pain in the ass, but it was really worth it in the end. The blade now hangs down nice and beefy both in the front and below, so we can actually cut and move some dirt. We have some footage of us using it on a recent dirt bike track build, and it was really working great. I wish I would have done it sooner, that's for sure. Thanks for tuning in to another how-to video. We'll catch you the next time our equipment breaks.